So now we're going to be talking about the convergence of linear and digital. And here to explain more, please welcome Scott Sheffer and Eleni Marouli to the stage.
So, hi everybody, good afternoon. I know lunch is coming in a little while, so hopefully I'll whet your appetite for that nourishment a little bit later. My name is Scott Sheffer, and I have the privilege of leading our global partnerships sell-side monetization team at Google. I've been doing this role for about 18 years now, has worked in web and apps, video broadcasting across those 18 years. And the goal of our team and our organization is to fund the world's information to really enable content through advertising around the world. So I'm here today to give our point of view on the huge consumer transition that's undergoing right now in TV distribution and share our insights a bit on how we think we can help that and some areas for opportunities for advertising and monetization as we go. I also want to just share a little bit about me. I think we're talking about the convergence of linear and digital. I'm one of those consumers as well. I have a family at home. We're going to talk a little bit about the different sort of multi-screening that people do, different sorts of modalities that people engage in. My family does that. My daughter watches on my wife's Netflix account, don't tell Netflix. My son watches on my Prime Video account, don't tell my boss that I have Prime. But anyway, we're all in this world together, so I think it's kind of interesting, and I want to start things off to maybe get the blood flowing here just a little bit with a bit of a poll to see how digital this audience is. And the reason I bring this up is because my remit is global. I was in Asia for 2 weeks at the beginning of November across 4 different markets. I'd just like to get a sense of like where different markets sit. And so we're going to ask 3 questions. This is sort of the interactive part of the presentation. So get your left or your right arm ready. We're going to ask a few polling questions here. So the first poll question that we're going to start with is, so a lot of people have connected TVs. Raise your hand if one of your biggest frustrations with your connected TV is finding something to watch because you have several different streaming services. Okay, yeah, lights are high. I see a lot of hands out there. So it turns out that most households have roughly 2 to 3 streaming subscriptions, paid video services, and many have many, many more. And advertising is absolutely helping to manage that transition to those streaming services. Our research indicates that, at least on Google TV, we see people spending about 5 to 15 minutes browsing for content, which is sort of an interesting amount of time that people spend actually looking for something to watch. Okay, that was the first question. 2 more. This will be quick. So raise your hand if you find personalized recommendations on your connected TV helpful for discovering content. Okay, yeah, there's a fair number out there. Okay, now keep your hand up if you also find, keep your hand up if you also find that you're more receptive to advertising that's sort of related to the content you're interested in. Hopefully that's most of the people who have their hands up, yeah. So our research shows that about 1/3 of people discover content through smart TV recommendations, and there is up to 3 times more attention paid to advertising that is at least perceived to be relevant to that individual's content and the context that they're in. Okay, 3rd and final question, I promise. So raise your hand if you regularly use your mobile phone or another device while you're watching your connected TV. Maybe 2 hands if you use 2 devices. Anyone out there, 2 devices? Yeah, so I think it's the majority of people here, at least data from YouGov indicate that the majority of viewers are using 2 devices. If you're anything like my household, my kids, they're watching the connected TV up on the wall, they've got their laptop open, they've got their mobile phone, they're doing 3 or maybe even 4 things at once. They may be watching YouTube on their laptop while they're watching the connected TV. So there's a lot going on all at the same time. Okay, so a lot of interesting trends here, at least in this marketplace. I feel like we're all on the same page when it comes to connected TV and how we're interacting with that service. So to summarize, I think users are engaging with connected TV, but they're facing real challenges. Finding the content that they want has been a challenge for users. They have to go through 5 or 15 minutes, depending on the platform that they're looking at. A sea of apps and services integrating their mobile experiences into what they're doing and what they're watching on the big screen, and becoming interested in like the personalized recommendations they get through advertising or other services. So these challenges are also an opportunity for broadcasters and other content owners to monetize those interactions and to create personalized services. I think many of the speakers today have talked about how to create more personalized, interactive, engaging experiences. But that's an opportunity to actually monetize that and business opportunities to grow your business with advertising. So all this is happening, however, at the same time where linear and digital experiences are converging. So we've got that convergence happening right there. So that actually creates a couple of opportunities. There's 4 up here on the screen: expanded reach and distribution, deeper engagement, advanced monetization, and streamlined operations. And I just want to kind of walk through each of these in turn and talk about the opportunities that those are creating. So the first one, which is expanded reach and distribution, a lot of users are spending time across multiple different platforms. And so this means that they're going to the TV room, you deliver content across the connected TV, across their mobile phone, across their laptop, across their tablet. And it ensures viewers can now reach your programming through a multitude of other different services, such as FAST or maybe even YouTube or something like that. The second point here is deeper engagement. Again, I think speakers have mentioned this a lot today. You can drive deeper engagements through more interactive experiences on the connected TV or on the devices that other folks are watching the content through. So you can do things like polls, Q&A, social media tiebacks, and things like that. This all leads to a more engaged audience. And I think we all know that a more engaged audience then leads to advanced monetization opportunities. Now, this includes ads, subscriptions, micropayments, and the like, huge host of opportunities there. But the focus that I'm going to spend on today is more on advertising and how we think some ad technology can help you drive your business from those opportunities and advanced monetization. And finally, streamlining operations across linear and digital. You can improve your efficiency, reduce costs by unifying your content management, your technical operations, and make your sales teams much more effective selling across all those different content operations that you have. So I want to move on here, and I'm going to double click. Get it? Joke. No, okay, that one didn't go right. I'm going to double click into a couple of these opportunities here. So a couple of definitions. We're going to talk about 3 major areas in the next couple of minutes. First of all, in OTT and streaming, we're going to talk about server-guided ad insertion, which we think is a very interesting opportunity. We're going to pray to the demo gods. They're going to run a little bit of a video here, talk over that in just a second. The second thing is in free-to-air distribution, we've got HBB TV, ad substitution, which is free-to-air distribution platforms. And then finally, in a set-top environment, set-box tops environment. So we have an example here. We're just going to talk very at a high level with Android TV. So one of the ways to personalize your ads and live streams is dynamic ad insertion, which is also known as server-side ad insertion or manifest manipulation. So this is a pretty mature technology for personalizing ads. At Google, we've been running this since about 2015 for the Rugby World Cup. But this has one major limitation. You have to have ads content in order. So it's a bit of a limitation. So the technology that we're going to talk about a bit more right now is server-guided ad insertion, which is an emerging standard where the components are sort of assembled in an experience that can be customized to the user and to the content. So this allows for things like side-by-side content, zoom in, zoom out, L-shaped bars, and we'll walk through an example of that in just a second. We worked with TheoPlayer and the NFL to highlight one of these experiences. So we're going to run a video now, which will hopefully highlight how server-guided ad insertion actually works with a real example. So let's see if this works. Everyone's fingers crossed, and we'll go for it. So, all right. So sorry, this is American football. I know this is a European audience. I prefer European football myself, but the NFL. Okay, so here we go. So watching an American football match, you're going to see a downfield pass for a touchdown. And then right then, you can see that we've got a squeeze back ad format. So the content is squeezed out, the ad squeezes in. This is enabled using server-guided ad insertion. Essentially allows the player to zoom out and the ad to zoom in. It's fully addressable. You can address multiple different ads to multiple different users at the same time in this particular ad spots. And so now we're going to wait for the ad to finish, and we're going to squeeze back into the content. Hopefully you all have bought a Pixel. I know this is an old ad. Pixel 9 is great. Sorry, that's my shill for Pixel. OK, we're back to the content. We're going to see a downfield pass here. There is the reception. And now we've got a side-by-side double box format. So the content continues playing on the left. You've got an ad experience on the right. This could be a less disruptive experience because you know the user is still watching the action on the left-hand side of the screen. But from an advertiser perspective, you know that they're actually still watching the screen. So you've got this premium branding experience on the right-hand side. You can almost guarantee that people are going to be watching that ad while they watch the content. So now we're going to wait for this to come back to the full content. And for the final SGAI experience, we're going to talk about an L-shaped banner or an L-bar format. So we got another play there. It looks like a fumble recovery. Here we go. So here we've got a smooth transition. We've got an L-shaped display format with a QR code and a video ad in the upper left-hand box. You can imagine you can do a mixture here of video and display ad opportunities. You could have the video keep running in the upper left-hand corner. You could have your display ads on the right or some mixture of that. So creating custom experiences for your advertisers, again, customized per user. So all of these ad experiences can be targeted to individual users and here we're back to the content. So another touchdown. OK. You can ask me later about American football. We can talk about it, or I prefer European, as I mentioned before. So, but we also know that not every TV is in a streaming environment at this point. So we really need to think about tying into the addressable linear experience. So the first one I want to talk about is dynamic ad substitution in free-to-air TV experiences. So the technology here in Europe and Australia actually is HBB-TV, so hybrid broadband broadcast TV, dynamic ad substitution. So what this enables broadcasters to do is switch away from their linear ads and put a digital ad pod in there. And again, since most TVs now are at least connected to the internet, you'll be able to deliver relevant addressable ads to users in the middle of their linear viewing experience. So we're doing this with a major European broadcaster to replace TV ads with digital ads using HBB TV. And we're working with Sky Italia to show L-shaped banners using HBBT to enable addressable slots and expanding their digital ad sales. But it's also important to think about how we deliver addressable TV. So we recently announced a 10-year deal with Vodafone, where we'll be powering addressable TV using dynamic ad substitution in Vodafone TV set-top boxes with Google Ad Manager as part of this 10-year strategic deal with Google. So big commitment on both sides to kind of power that set-top box experience for Vodafone. Now, I want to talk a little bit more about activating at scale. So as streaming continues to grow, a large number of users continue to use these services. The ability to sort of create that experience and customize it at scale for millions and millions of viewers is really critical for broadcasters. So with our dynamic ad insertion capabilities, we built industry-leading features such as early ad break notification, and which allows us to spread the ad load across over time. We use this with DAZN for thousands of ad requests every year. And as it says on the screen, we've delivered ads to 3.5 million and more viewers in concurrent streams and things such as the FIFA World Cup, Champions League, and I believe the Winter Olympics as well. And so there's also high volumes of domestic sporting events that happen all the time. I will also tell you, which is not up on the screen, that we've worked with a very large player in India to do concurrent streams for a very large event in India. You might guess which one that was, which were tens of millions of viewers at the same time, addressable. So pretty amazing technology. And again, as live sporting events in particular, or other live broadcasts become a major touch point for advertising, we think the ability and the technology to scale and serve all those users individually is pretty critical for broadcasters. OK, so we've talked a lot about the plumbing that we need to make addressable TV work. So what else do we need to do? The answer here, if you do the work, is it means you can unlock the programmatic advertising opportunity. So as broadcasters increasingly want to control the ads shown on their platforms, many of them are activating deals with programmatic direct. So we've seen huge growth from broadcasters and content streamers like Disney and DAZN in programmatic guaranteed, but we're also seeing a big shift and trend following the growth of preferred deals. which are non-guaranteed and can help to maximize fill as well. So especially when volumes are unpredictable. We're also working with agencies to enable them to buy curated ad inventory on the publishers we represent with our technology and make sure that we're driving more demand from those agencies into the publishers when they can't fill their ad inventory on their own. The second opportunity, and one that I think has been touched on by many speakers today, but I also want to really emphasize, is first-party data activation. Given privacy concerns and regulations, first-party data is a treasure trove of information. And for many broadcasters, now that they have streaming services and they have logged-in users, that relationship is very direct, and you're accumulating a significant amount of data and information about the user, both their viewing habits, the content that they're interested in, and many other aspects about that user. That means that you can personalize both the content and the ads experience on a per-user basis, and frankly, on a per-user, per-device, whenever they are, wherever they are experience, which is pretty powerful. The other really interesting thing that this first-party data goldmine, I guess I'll call it, gives you is that is the basis for which you can drive a lot of insights using machine learning and other models that you might want to use to understand more about your users and create those customized content and monetization experiences. So I can't emphasize enough how important first-party data is and really understanding what you have there and doing more and more with it. Users around the world, especially the younger generation, are expecting those personalized content experiences, personalized monetization experiences, and if they don't get it from you, they're going to go elsewhere. We're also engaging with industry forums such as the European Programmatic TV Initiative led by Project X. This is going to help capture the unbelievable opportunity we have in front of us with addressable and programmatic TV advertising. And for those of you who are going to attend the Google breakout session later, we're going to have a fireside chat with Project X. So to sort of bring things all together, as we see linear and digital converge, the lines are blurring and viewers are increasingly spending time across all different experiences. But the opportunity here, that challenge of seeing your users across multiple different modalities, is to reimagine the advertising experience, as I mentioned, the advertising and content experience, to be honest. Imagine a world where ads are no longer interruptions. They are additional value-added experiences to the users. We showed some of the experiences here earlier today. There's many more coming, and many folks think about this. But the ads can be a valuable and engaging part of the content rather than a distracted or distracting experience, right? So you can imagine a future where ads are sort of self-assembling, sort of like Lego blocks. We sort of call this self-driving ads, which is on this slide. Sorry about that. So you can imagine having different messages, different visuals, different call to actions targeted for user, and again, targeted for those users on different modalities, different times of day, different devices. You know a lot about your users now with your first-party data, and if you can put all that together in a compelling content and monetization experience, that's the ticket for the future. So very excited about that opportunity. Here at Google, we're here to help. We're interested in helping to drive your ad tech platforms and your ad monetization experiences. And I think the future of TV advertising really isn't about better ads. I think it's been said multiple times today. It's really about better experiences, more engaging experiences. That's what advertisers and agencies are looking for. That's what users are looking for. And that's good news for broadcasters. So thank you for listening. I look forward to seeing some of you around 2 p.m. at the Google Ad Manager breakout over in the building here. And at this point, we're going to transition to a quick Q&A with Eleni Marouli, who's the head of market development at Ofcom.
Brilliant. Thank you, Scott, for that presentation. Really, really interesting to see some specific examples of utilizing digital TV reach in a live environment. How quickly do you believe the industry is moving to digital? When will it fully converge, if at all?
Yeah, that's an interesting question. And I have to sort of remind myself what market I'm in. We were talking about this earlier. So it's an interesting question. When I was in Asia, I was in Vietnam and India, where to some extent, the convergence never needed to happen. People are starting purely on digital and mobile devices, right? But I think if we think about sort of the developed world, Western Europe, the United States, Australia, Japan as well, I think there was a huge shift during the pandemic that we all probably saw, and we all probably experienced it as well. I know myself personally, I streamed a lot of content. I signed up to a lot more streaming services during the pandemic, and there was certainly a sort of catch-up period during that period of enforced isolation where the transition really accelerated. And we're seeing that process continue right now. If you look at it from an advertising forecasting perspective, I think eMarketer and some other folks have estimated that the advertising tipping point for digital is going to happen in, at least for the US, UK, Nordic markets, sort of Western Europe, Northern Western Europe, is going to happen roughly in 2028. So that's when half of all ads will be digital at that point. That's an interesting indicator for what might happen for content consumption as well. Obviously, that's a forecast or something like that. But I really think that when we get to that tipping point, we're going to see some interesting acceleration of technology approaches, Salesforce approaches, and content experiences as we get the power of all that digital engagement for users and for advertisers agencies on the broadcaster platforms.
Yeah, and it's interesting you mentioned the tipping point, and I think with broadcasters we have sort of a mix of migration of audiences,
Yep.
but also quite a lot of our particular older audiences still very much engaged with the live content. So how can broadcasters capture this opportunity when so much viewing is live, and why would they want to?
Yeah, so we mentioned a little earlier about the live opportunity. I think sporting events in particular and some of these sort of large live communal experiences, whether it's America's Got Talent or whatever the local equivalent here is in UK and other places in Europe. But I think those live experiences, which are sort of must-see for users, and advertisers know it clearly, right? Agencies know it as well. Those are critical experiences that are large opportunities for broadcasters to sort of advance their business, right? So I think during this period of this transition, having multiple different forms of technology to enable you to take advantage of those multi-modalities, live on linear, live on streaming, is going to be pretty critical. But that's an area of extreme focus for us as well in terms of our ability to drive multiple millions of users or tens of millions of users and addressable ads during that particular period of time. So I think the other piece here is, as people move into utilizing broadcaster apps on smart TVs or other streaming platforms, that addressability is going to get more and more important. We mentioned first-party data already. A lot of people mentioned that today. I think that's a critical area where the premium that you can potentially get for that user in a privacy-safe way with first-party data is going to make digital more and more attractive for advertisers and for publishers and broadcasters to monetize. That's why I think the digital transition will be even more fruitful for broadcasters in general. I think the measurement piece, I think the gentleman from NBC was up here earlier talking about marketing objective models and things like that really haven't changed over time. The measurement aspect is going to be very, very interesting given sort of privacy regulations and attribution. That's an area where I think there's some fragmentation in the industry that we need to all work together to solve in order to make sure that we all agree on attribution and advertisers can make sure that they're getting the best ROI for their ad spend.
Okay, well, you mentioned working together. So how is Google working with the industry, and how do you build trust with the industry?
Yeah, so two things. I think we mentioned here that we're thinking about how we can help in this hybrid environment. HBBTV is a good example of that. I think the other thing is we're engaging with plenty of industry bodies, the programmatic initiative I mentioned earlier. And my team is here to help. We are the part of Google that is most interested in enabling your technology experience from a broadcaster perspective, and ultimately to drive revenue to you to help fund the content that you're interested in putting out there. So we're all ears. We want to work with you. We want to take that feedback, and we're trying to work on standards with the industry as well. We'll talk a bit about that in the Google. It's a little advertisement right there. Talk a little bit about that with the Google breakout later on this afternoon with Project X.
Brilliant. Thank you very much, Scott.
Thank you.